In my newly built house, Emma, who is my husband's mother, suddenly appeared. She always threw sarcastic comments. Influenced by her unpleasant attitude, my husband gradually became cold toward me. I became increasingly unable to tolerate their behavior and finally lost my temper. But instead of trying to calm my anger, Emma hurled even more provocative words.
You cannot be called a family member of this house. You should leave my son's house.
Surprised by these unexpected words, I looked at my husband. He, with a slight smile, spoke further, testing me.
Did you hear what my mother said? Are you fulfilling your role as a member of our family?
Hearing those words, my anger reached its peak. In this house, there was only Emma who insulted me and a husband who didn't consider my feelings. Determinedly, I calmly conveyed my final words to them. I understand. I will leave this house. About a month later, the two of them learned a big lesson. My name is Jenny. At 31, I enjoy living in the city center. Married 2 years ago, I now work with my husband, living the urban life as a working housewife. After graduating from college, I got a chance to work at one of the leading cosmetic brands in the country. Since joining the company, I've been dedicated to my job with passion. I first met my husband Kyle at a mutual friend's wedding. He works hard at a stable, local company. Our relationship lasted about 2 years, and then I received a marriage proposal from Kyle. I wholeheartedly accepted the proposal, greeted my parents about the marriage, and then planned to greet Kyle's family. His parents are already divorced, and his mother lives quietly in an apartment in a corner of the city. The first time I visited his mother's house, she closely examined me from head to toe and then started saying something surprising.
Oh, Kyle, you're thinking of building a future with a woman like this.
Excuse me? As I was shocked by her sudden words, she continued speaking.
You're quite tall, and your face seems a bit stern. If you're together, won't Kyle become completely submissive?
Well. Before I could respond, Kyle began to speak from the side.
Mom, don't worry. Jenny and I have built a good relationship, so there's no need for concern in that regard. I'll make sure she knows her role as a wife.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. I'll teach you everything you need to know. With that, I approve of the marriage.
That's reassuring, Jenny. Now I can relax.
Internally shocked, I put on a brave face and smiled. Upon returning home, I decided to voice my doubts and dissatisfaction with Kyle. Kyle, what did you mean by educating the wife? Don't you think that's a bit much?
Look, my mom has traditional values and is a bit old-fashioned. I used those words to put her at ease.
Even so, wasn't that a bit harsh?
Sorry, but I don't think that way. We're bound by deep love, and I've never fought about such things.
Okay, if you say so, I'll believe you. After that conversation, we formally got married, and Kyle moved into my apartment. However, just 2 months after the marriage, Kyle dropped a shocking revelation.
Jenny, the truth is, I might lose my job. What do you think about that?
What? How did this happen?
I faced severe criticism from my boss due to a failure in an important project. But honestly, I felt from the beginning that the workplace's atmosphere and policies weren't right for me. So I'm considering exploring other opportunities.
But such sudden news. What about our future plans? Any prospects for a new job?
Don't worry too much. I'm planning to look for job offers.
As expected, Kyle eventually lost his job. Accepting that reality wasn't easy, but Kyle didn't seem down and continued with his day-to-day life. However, I didn't sense any eagerness from him to find a new job. As I led a busy life, he even took solo hiking trips to nearby mountains. Kyle, are you really looking for a new job? He responded with a hint of impatience.
How many times do I have to tell you? Besides, your salary is quite good, so I think we'll be okay for a while. I don't see a need to rush.
It's true my income was pretty decent. However, that's a different issue. And I had another big concern: the frequent meddling from Emma. After our marriage, without any notice, she started visiting our home twice a week. Then, one day, as usual, without prior notice, Emma showed up at our home.
Hey, Kyle, it's been a while. I just came by to visit.
Oh, Mom, you came at the perfect time. Come in and make yourself comfortable.
Kyle, in a cheerful mood, invites Emma into the living room. Internally, I felt displeased with his action, but I made sure not to show it on my face so neither of them would notice. However, I really wasn't pleased with the sudden visit, so I decided to discuss it with her. Emma, actually, I'd really appreciate it if you could give us a heads up before visiting next time, for planning and preparation. As I gently made the request, her eyes narrowed slightly, and she shot me a sharp look.
What are you talking about? Why should I announce every time I visit my precious son's home?
I just hoped you would understand.
Before that, is the house clean? I see dust on the floor. Are you taking proper care of it?
I hadn't anticipated being called out on the cleanliness, since she arrived just before I began cleaning. I apologized, bowing my head, saying, "I'm very sorry." Although Kyle had been home all this time, he rarely helped with household chores, which was apparent. Even after this incident, his mother continued to visit unannounced, often staying for long hours while chatting happily with Kyle. I began to feel stressed due to her surprise visits and found fewer moments of genuine relaxation. The 4 months after Kyle lost his job felt incredibly long and hard. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and decided to introduce Kyle to a real estate agency run by a college friend of mine. He hesitated at first, but he got an interview opportunity and managed to secure a sales position at the company. Just as I began to feel relieved, about 6 months after Kyle started his job, he approached me with a slightly dejected expression.
Jenny, actually, I haven't been able to secure as many contracts as I had hoped in the 6 months since I started sales.
Wait, is that really true?
Yo, if this continues, my position at this company might be in danger. I need to think of the next step.
From his words at that moment, I strongly felt the challenges Kyle was facing in his job. In that case, all you can do is try even harder. Encouraged by my words, Kyle pulled out a pamphlet of a newly constructed apartment from his work bag.
Actually, I had this idea. What about considering a new place to live? I think signing a contract for this apartment might positively impact my sales performance.
That's appealing, but
Please, Jenny, neither of us wants me to be unemployed again, right?
taking his sincere plea into account, I had indeed been looking for a new place to avoid my Emma's visits. So, I thought this proposal might be our next step and decided to agree. With us stepping into the new apartment, a new chapter in our life began. During the apartment buying process, given Kyle's work history and current employment status, it became challenging to get a loan approved solely under his name. The reasons include his frequent job changes and a short duration at his current job. On the other hand, since I held a stable position in a major company, it was comparatively easy to get a loan under my name. Therefore, the purchase of the new house proceeded only under my name. Kyle didn't show interest in the actual procedures or financial planning and left everything to me. However, it seemed he was genuinely looking forward to the apartment purchase being counted as a success in his job. With the relocation to the new home, there were changes in our daily life. Notably, moving away from Emma's house and the cessation of her sudden visits was a relief to me. I often murmured to myself, just by not having Emma visiting unexpectedly, I feel so much at ease. However, the joy of a new life was short-lived. Just a few months after moving to the new apartment, one day, when I returned from an outing, a large moving truck was parked in front of the apartment. At first, I thought a neighbor was moving and was about to pass the truck. But as I approached our entrance, I realized that the furniture and luggage being moved from the truck belonged to Emma, and I was taken aback. Wait, what's going on? As I stepped into the room with those words, I saw Kyle and a smug-looking Emma.
What do you mean? I'm just moving in my stuff.
Why would you?
From now on, I've decided to live here. I've already given up my previous residence.
What? At that moment, Kyle approached me.
Think about it rationally. Isn't it cruel to leave my mom alone? How about we try living together?
What are you talking about, Kyle? I was lost for words in astonishment. In the background, Emma's belongings were being moved into our new home one after another. In the end, she unilaterally chose the room we had intended for our future child's room as her own. And thus, unexpectedly, our life with Emma began. The subsequent daily life became incredibly challenging, beyond words. Every early morning, I was woken up by Emma and was ordered around to do housework under her meticulous directions. Whenever I didn't meet Emma's expectations, she would immediately snap at me.
Can't you even do something this simple? You're such an unreliable wife.
Every day, despite Emma staying at home all the time, she never helped with any chores, leaving everything to me. I repeatedly expressed my dissatisfaction to Kyle, but his responses were always dismissive.
As a wife, shouldn't you properly accept and fulfill the wishes and requests of Emma? Maybe the situation is like this because you can't meet her expectations, Jenny.
This kind of day-to-day life continued for over a month, and both my body and mental increasingly couldn't handle the pressure. I started losing focus at work and began making minor mistakes. As a result, I began receiving more warnings from my supervisor. Although I felt the current lifestyle was clearly unsustainable, I couldn't find a way to break out of the situation. In deep despair, I began to keep divorce papers at hand as the only solution I could think of. One evening, as usual, I prepared a dinner menu of stewed fish, sautéed spinach, miso soup, and white rice, and served it to both Emma and Kyle. However, Emma approached the kitchen with a displeased look and began to vent her frustrations.
Another simple meal. I've told you many times I want meat. Why do you serve fish again?
Honestly, I wanted meat today too. And compared to my mom's cooking, Jenny, your food still has a long way to go. Maybe you really aren't the exemplary wife after all.
Kyle always yielded to Emma's words and promptly complied with her demands and wishes. Although it might have seemed like he was just being dutiful to his mother, at times it appeared excessively so. Observing his behavior, she would further speak to him.
Isn't that right, Kyle? If this bride can't meet your expectations, why not consider looking for a new life partner through dating again?
That suggestion might be worth considering.
Kyle glanced at me with a subtle smile after saying those words. The pain in my heart reached its limit when I saw his attitude, and so I stood up to express my feelings. I have feelings too. I can't stand being ignored and insulted like this. Upon hearing my words, Emma looked surprised. Maybe she underestimated me, not expecting me to talk back. But then she smirked and responded.
Such a way to talk as a wife. It's really unladylike. This is Kyle's and my house. You are just a bride. So just accept what's told to you.
I turned to Kyle, hoping for his support.
I think Mom has a point. Maybe you should reconsider your role as a wife.
In that moment, the anger inside me reached its peak. I felt that I couldn't stand my life in this house anymore. With a calm yet determined voice, I spoke. I no longer wish to stay here. Hearing my proclamation, both Emma and Kyle were taken aback. After a moment of surprise, they exchanged glances and smirked sarcastically. I slowly spread the divorce papers I had prepared in advance on the table. Kyle, our relationship is beyond repair. Divorce seems to be the best option now. Kyle's eyes were filled with a mix of surprise and confusion.
Kyle, what are you pondering? Sign those papers immediately. Marrying such a woman was a mistake from the start.
Okay, Mom, I understand.
Regardless of the situation, seeing Kyle always follow his mother's words filled my heart with complex emotions. I began deeply regretting my marriage to him. After taking the divorce papers, I looked around the room, decided to gather my precious belongings and leave the house. As I approached the front door, Emma said one more thing in a cold voice.
From the moment you joined our family, I felt that you didn't fit in. Please never show your face to us again.
All right, don't worry. This will be our final farewell. As I left the newly built apartment, I felt a tinge of sadness, but I continued on. After that, I went to the city hall to finalize my divorce, taking the first step toward my new independent life. I then made a phone call to pass on some important information about a specific location. A few weeks later, while I was enjoying a peaceful morning at my parents' home, the doorbell rang. To my surprise, the intercom displayed Kyle, who looked quite anxious, and my clearly angry Emma. "Why have you come here?" In response to my simple question, Emma answered with an agitated voice.
Open the door immediately. We have urgent matters to discuss.
Considering the peace of the neighborhood, I reluctantly opened the door to my parents' house and led them to the living room. Minutes later, Emma, with a face flushed in anger, slammed some documents onto the table.
What on earth is this eviction notice? Are you trying to drag us to court? Explain yourself.
I took a deep breath and calmly replied, "This is from the lawyer who's acting on my behalf. Unfortunately, under the current circumstances, you'll have to vacate the premises."
How could this happen? We've done nothing wrong.
"Kyle, didn't you explain the situation to your mother?" At my question, Kyle looked embarrassed and lowered his head, unable to respond.
What are you talking about, Kyle? Why did you keep such an important matter from me?
"The truth is, I'm the owner of that apartment. Both the funds used for the purchase and the monthly mortgage payments have been under my name, and I've been responsible for them." Emma was visibly shocked by this revelation.
Why is this the case? Kyle, what have you been hiding?
Well, I initially said it was mine to please you. But as you were so happy about it, I couldn't bring myself to tell the truth.
"So, I'd like you to vacate the apartment within a week. If you fail to do so, I'll consider legal action."
Wait, if we change the ownership to Kyle, can't we continue living there? We want a stable place to live.
Kyle glanced at me but looked down, seemingly conflicted. "Kyle, is that what you really want? Kyle, haven't you told her about that incident?" Kyle couldn't meet my gaze.
What is that incident?
"You might be shocked, but Kyle has actually lost his job." After deciding on divorce, the first thing I did was contact a close friend of mine, who was also Kyle's boss. He confided in me about Kyle's poor performance and attitude at work. Knowing this, I apologized and asked my friend to fire Kyle without hesitation. As a result, Kyle lost his job 2 weeks ago. I assumed you already knew, but it seems Kyle was hiding the truth.
What? How could this happen?
The situation had become clearer, but many challenges lay ahead.
Why did this happen? How did it come to this?
With Emma's shock evident, I elaborated further. Kyle's job performance was unsatisfactory, and on top of that, someone who indulges in gambling during work hours is unnecessary in any company. In fact, my friend was his direct supervisor, so I requested that Kyle be fired. Now that we're officially divorced, there's no reason to treat him specially. Emma was visibly shaken and confused by this revelation. At that moment, Kyle suddenly bowed his head deeply in apology in front of us.
Jenny, I'm truly sorry for making you feel this way. Please forgive me, just one more chance.
What? Why are you apologizing to your ex-wife like this, Kyle?
I find it hard to live without Jenny. I want to live in that apartment, and if possible, I'd like to ask for a referral to a new job, and to cherish our time as a family once more.
Even if you say that now, it won't change anything. You can't meet expectations at work. You always listen only to your mother, and you're indifferent to me. Why should I have to forgive you in this situation?
Jenny, I'm truly sorry. I regret everything. So I want to make it right one more time.
At that moment, Emma, deeply disturbed, spoke out.
Jenny, please try to understand Kyle's feelings. He's apologizing so earnestly. Why are you lashing out with such harsh words? Do you lack any human compassion?
I had reached my breaking point. This situation is all due to your intrusive actions. You came into my house without permission, always complaining. Why should I have any sympathy for him when he grew up in such an environment? You caused this. Sensing my determination, a mix of surprise and fear could be read from her eyes. I want both of you to leave my house immediately. There's no need for you to stay here any longer. Now, please leave without any hesitation. With those words, I firmly requested them to leave my home. A few days later, I heard rumors that Emma and Kyle had started moving out of my luxurious condo. Since neither had stable jobs, it seemed the only place they could afford was an old, worn-out apartment. Although Kyle is diligently looking for a new job due to financial reasons, it appears to be challenging. As a result, I heard he's juggling several part-time jobs to make ends meet. And Emma, due to financial hardships, chose to work in a factory. The job she chose is physically and mentally demanding, something she probably never imagined she'd be doing in her younger years. The two, now living in the same place, are said to be arguing almost daily due to the stress from long work hours. To me, their current situation is no longer my concern. They've become distant strangers. After making the decision to let go of my condo, I've been enjoying life at my parents' home. The absence of stress from my former Emma and ex-husband has made me feel more motivated and enthusiastic about my work. Waking up every morning has become a joy, and I've begun to appreciate the small joys of daily life. In this new chapter of my life, I not only want to continue working hard, but also to find someone who truly believes in me and brings true value to my life.
Are you able to resolve this issue? I might even think about marrying you if you correctly answer all the questions. The company's summer celebration took place on a hot August evening. The CEO's daughter began to complain to me after drinking too much. It seems that she didn't like that a junior high school graduate like me was employed by this company. She therefore made the decision to test me with some difficult inquiries. She remarked, obviously intoxicated, seems to enjoy watching me struggle. You're only a junior high school graduate, so you can't really solve them. I only answered, sorry, but I don't think I can live up to your expectations, observing her derisive face. When she heard the truth about me, her face froze in shock. I'm now unsure of the prize I ought to request from her. Noah is my name. I work as a regular office worker for a reputable Kanagawa corporation. I am currently 23 years old and have worked for this company for 8 years. I'm ashamed to say that I never attended high school, much less college. Stated differently, junior high school is my highest level of education. Sincerely, I also desire to go high school or maybe college. However, I couldn't afford it at the moment. Noah, back in my first year of junior high, my homeroom teacher, Mr. Taylor, informed me that the trip agency had called earlier. I was one of 5 siblings in a big family at the time. I looked after my siblings every day because my parents were constantly busy running a well-known neighborhood bakery. For once, I wanted to give my parents, who have always worked so hard for us, a chance to unwind and enjoy themselves together. In light of this, my siblings and I gradually gathered money in order to surprise my parents with a trip. I had no idea that this would be the last time we said our goodbyes. Just before lunch finished that day, Mr. Taylor rushed over to me in a panic, telling me that my parents had been in an accident while traveling. My folks were traveling in a cab when it was involved in a collision. My siblings, who were supposed to be in daycare, were already at the hospital when I hurried there. Our relatives who had picked them up appeared very concerned when they saw me. After that, I was shown to a room where my parents were lying with their faces covered as they were in a television play. I was unable to really comprehend what I was seeing because the scene felt so surreal. Two dead bodies, motionless like mannequins, were all that was left of us after a few moments of laughing and eating together. "This isn't possible," I muttered. "It's because I organized this trip." As I fell to the ground, I muttered those words. My siblings and my parents had been separated by the trip I had organized. With that in mind, I cried and apologized as I automatically gave my siblings hugs. "I really apologize. All of this is my fault." At the same time, a sense of responsibility washed over me. I was the only one who could protect my siblings now. What would happen to my young brothers and sisters? That thought filled me with a resolve to stand strong and support them. After the funeral, the remaining issue was, what will happen to us kids? Since both of my parents were only children, we had no uncles or aunts to turn to. As a result, the only people who could take us in were our grandparents. However, since they were quite elderly, my siblings and I had no choice but to enter a care facility. It would have been unrealistic to expect our elderly grandparents to look after my younger brothers and sisters, so going to the facility was an inevitable outcome. Even so, the greatest relief was that my siblings and I were able to stay together in the same facility. From my first year of middle school, I spent 3 years studying intensely at the facility. At school, I ranked at the top of my grade and was even told during career counseling that I could get a recommendation to one of the best public high schools in the prefecture. However, when I declined the offer, my homeroom teacher, Mr. Thompson, looked completely shocked. "With your academic performance, a recommendation is definitely possible, you know." "Thank you, but my decision about my future hasn't changed." I bowed my head to the astonished Mr. Thompson and replied. Over the past 3 years, Mr. Thompson had repeatedly encouraged me to pursue high school education, but my resolve never wavered. I continued to write employment on the career planning forms placed before me. "I want to make sure my younger siblings can continue their education in place of our late parents," I explained. "With my current academic performance, I'd heard I could get into this company. I know about your parents passing away early, but I don't think you need to sacrifice yourself like this." "It's not a sacrifice at all," I said. "I just don't want to be separated from my siblings." "I see. So, employment is in that case. Let me list some companies that offer distance learning support while you work at the facility." There was also a foster care system, and younger children could sometimes be taken in by foster families. That might have been a happy option, but my siblings told me they didn't want to be apart from me. Because of that, I decided not to pursue high school and instead focused on finding a way for all 5 of us to stay together. That decision led me to this job. With Mr. Thompson's support, I graduated middle school and left my hometown to work at the company where I'm currently employed. The company had a strong focus on hiring people from rural areas, and many of my colleagues were also high school graduates, which was a great comfort. While working, I also used the company's distance learning system to earn certifications and qualifications. By the time I turned 20, my younger siblings had grown older and started taking on part-time jobs to help support our household, which eased the burden on me. "Big brother, I'll be late for dinner tonight because I have club activities at school." That was my sister, who was 2 years younger than me, speaking. After saying that, she put on her shoes and checked the time. "Got it. I'll be home late too because I have a test for my high school courses. Don't worry about it, big brother. Don't push yourself too hard with work and studying. Okay, you're one to talk. You've been busy with club activities lately. Don't worry about making lunch every day if it's too much. It's fine. You're working so hard instead of going to college for us, so I want to help however I can. Well, you're helping plenty by tutoring me. I'm grateful for that. I expressed my gratitude to my sister, who smiled in response. Currently, I'm attending a night school for distance learning provided by my company, which technically makes me a high school student like my sister. Though my formal education still lists me as a junior high school graduate, the program includes content for university preparation, making it quite rigorous. Because of this, I often ask my sister, who is a current high schooler, to help me study. Feeling guilty, I apologize profusely, but she just smiles happily. Big brother, you're taking it easy today, huh? Good morning, big brother. After seeing my sister off, my younger siblings who attend junior high school and elementary school start waking up. Once I see them all off, I lock the house and head to the nearest station. As always, this daily routine, though simple, is the happiest part of my life because it's when I get to spend time with my family. But upon arriving at the company, I noticed the department was unusually lively today. Some employees were gathered in front of the manager's office, chatting, while others whispered nearby. It was a sight unlike the usual mornings. What's going on? I asked a colleague standing nearby. Ah, good morning, Noah. Good morning. So, what's happening? Well, you know how the new hires are starting next month, right? Yes, the induction ceremony just ended, and today's the day they find out which department they'll be assigned to, isn't it? I'd approached a colleague who had joined the company the same year as me but was older, and he nodded, showing me a document. It was the latest issue of the company newsletter. The newest issue included photos and names of this year's new recruits. Today was the day their department assignments would be announced, and after joint training, they'd officially join their teams next month. As I curiously browsed the company newsletter, my colleague opened a particular page and pointed to it. There, I saw the name of a woman with a familiar last name. Moore? That's the same last name as our CEO. Is she a relative? No. Apparently she's the CEO's daughter. What? Yeah, and it seems she'll be joining our department next month. She's apparently an elite who graduated from the University of Tokyo. But why is she joining as a regular employee? From what I know, wouldn't it be different for someone whose family? Usually they come in as executives or something like that, but apparently she's starting as a regular employee to gain experience before eventually taking over the company. My colleague made a face that showed how tedious he found the situation. The other employees seemed to feel the same, their expressions full of unease. It was likely because they knew they'd have to tread carefully around her, given her status as the CEO's daughter. A situation straight out of a drama. At the time, I couldn't help but view the situation objectively, as if it were someone else's story. But little did I know that the day I would be swept up in the chaos caused by the CEO's daughter was fast approaching. A month later, just as the rumors said, several new hires were assigned to our department. They all looked nervous, dressed in suits, some of which were so new they squeaked. Among them, one woman stood out. Her suit looked completely natural on her. She wore a gray pantsuit with a polished blouse, exuding professionalism. This had to be the rumored CEO's daughter. Nice to meet you, I'm Ashley. Her confident manner as she handed out business cards left everyone around stunned. She was strikingly beautiful, the kind of person who perfectly embodied the word elegance. A subtle, unfamiliar fragrance from her long hair added to her charm. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Noah, from the same department. Thank you, I look forward to working with you. I couldn't help but be captivated by her beauty the first time I saw her. I felt my face flush with embarrassment as I found myself unable to even look directly at her. I felt pathetic for reacting that way. Her refined features gave the impression of someone strong-willed. However, in reality, she was quiet and reserved. However, her true nature began to reveal itself about 2 months after she joined the company. See, the manual says this is how it should be done. I disagree. This is how I would do it. That approach ignores the customer's perspective. Looking at the materials in front of me, I sighed and glanced at Ashley. The once quiet Ashley had grown more confident as she got used to the job, frequently asserting her opinions. This wasn't just directed at me. She treated other employees the same way. According to her, the department's methods were inefficient. Initially, her reserved demeanor earned her praise from colleagues, but now her innate strong-willed nature, combined with the elegance of a princess, was beginning to resurface. What made matters worse was her unwavering confidence rooted in statements like, "I graduated from the University of Tokyo with excellent grades, so my approach is guaranteed to succeed." It goes without saying that her bold declarations left the rest of us groaning. Our department handles sales, so maintaining good relationships with clients is crucial. Over the years, our managers have refined the processes through trial and error, improving customer service and securing long-term contracts. But Ashley wanted to change the manual to fit her methods. Her approach prioritized profit and efficiency over customer satisfaction, which risked breaking contracts. Although Neville, our department head, repeatedly rejected her proposals, Ashley refused to back down, deepening the rift between her and the team. "Hey Noah, I can't seem to get through to Ashley. Can you step in and guide her?" It was only recently that my colleague asked me to take on this role, and that's how I ended up becoming her mentor. "Noah, are you listening?" "Sorry, I was just working on some documents." "Ha, this is exactly why I can't stand this. Using these outdated materials is such a waste of time." "That's not true. Our next client prefers paper documents because they find them easier to understand." "That's exactly what's outdated. This is why junior high school dropouts just don't get it." She placed the materials I had prepared on the desk with a dismissive attitude. Even though I technically outtrained her, Ashley rarely used formal language when speaking to me. On the contrary, she often spoke down to me with snide remarks like this. Since being assigned to our department, Ashley's reputation had taken a nosedive. "Modern trends are the best way to go." That was her catchphrase. However, her methods didn't suit this department, where most of our clients were older and valued traditional approaches. Other colleagues had tried to point this out to her, but her pride seemed to make her resistant to feedback. Above all, her pride as a graduate of the University of Tokyo meant she had no interest in listening to advice from people like me or my colleagues, who came from lesser educational backgrounds. Even after she became one of my subordinates, dealing with her continued to be a daily struggle. "This isn't going anywhere," I thought to myself, so I told her, "I'm going to take a quick break," and left the meeting room. At the smoking area, some of my colleagues, concerned about me, struck up a conversation. "So, how's it going with Ashley?" "It's tough. She's not entirely wrong about some things, so I can't just dismiss her outright." "Yeah, I get that. But you're still her supervisor." "I know, but I'd rather avoid causing conflict. Besides, if we're talking credentials, she's clearly more accomplished than I am." When I spoke hesitantly, my colleague, perhaps noticing my fatigue, gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Did I really look that exhausted? By the way, Neville mentioned that there's going to be a summer party with another department next month. Really? Yeah, it seems like they booked a place at a restaurant. It's a good time since the new recruits will have settled in by then. At this company, instead of holding welcome parties for new employees, we have summer gatherings. The reason is that by summer, mid-career hires and new graduates have usually settled into their roles. While we've had many summer gatherings before, they're typically held within individual departments. However, this time, it was a joint event with another department, which made me a bit uneasy. Ashley was already receiving unpleasant looks from people in our department. If she behaved the same way elsewhere, it might only make her even more disliked. I thought about this but chose not to say anything. Instead, I decided to focus on preparing materials for the upcoming meeting. With that in mind, I completely forgot about my earlier worries. August arrived. The period leading up to mid-August saw relentless scorching heat, with one sweltering day after another. On one such day, the much-talked-about joint summer party was held. The venue was a large private room at a restaurant bustling with dozens of attendees. Since I don't drink, I sipped on oolong tea while chatting with my manager, Robert. Knowing about my responsibilities at home, Robert kindly suggested, "Feel free to take some leftovers home for your brothers and sisters." Unlike the tense atmosphere at work, the presence of alcohol created a relaxed and cheerful vibe, with everyone chatting animatedly about both work and personal topics. A few colleagues stopped by to greet me, exchanged light-hearted conversations, and then moved on. As I entertained these interactions, I helped myself to some raw fish, a luxury I don't usually get to enjoy. This is pretty expensive. I wish I could let my siblings have some of it too. I thought to myself as I ate. My thoughts drifted to the family waiting for me at home. Glancing across the room, I noticed a group of new hires sitting together, drinking. Among them, Ashley stood out, positioned at the center of the group. She was chatting animatedly with her peers, laughing loudly as she downed drink after drink. It was a stark contrast to her demeanor at work. Her guard seemed to be down, likely thanks to the alcohol. Ashley appeared to be in high spirits, enthusiastically discussing work-related topics with her fellow recruits. She was smiling in a way I'd never seen at work, showing expressions that made her seem like any other young person her age. If only she could show that smile in the office. I was thinking that when suddenly her voice rang out louder than usual. "Hey, listen. My department is the worst." "What?" "Seriously. Yeah, the work is so outdated and the systems are ancient. Can you believe it, in this day and age?" In the relaxed atmosphere of the party, Ashley's complaints echoed loudly. It's understandable for people to vent during social gatherings, especially where alcohol is involved. However, Ashley kept glancing toward our department's table as she loudly aired her grievances to her peers. The colleague sitting next to me furrowed his brow and whispered, "Do you think Ashley's drunk?" "Probably. But if Nettle hears about this, it could be bad." "Yeah, it could. But then again, she's the CEO's daughter. Maybe she thinks she's untouchable." My colleague glanced toward Neville and the other department heads, who were nearby. They appeared to be keeping things under control, pouring drinks and trying to ensure everyone stayed composed. Yet Ashley continued her loud complaints, drawing glances from people around her. Senior staff keep looking over, but she doesn't seem to notice. Yeah, honestly, it's getting pretty uncomfortable sitting near this. As we exchanged uneasy remarks and felt the atmosphere in the room grow tense, I began to worry about how things were unfolding. "Ashley, you've had a bit too much to drink." The voice came from Megan, a senior colleague seated near me. She stood up with a glass of water and walked over to Ashley. She was the same person who had previously asked me to take over as Ashley's mentor. To be honest, both I and my colleagues sitting beside me knew that Megan didn't have the best relationship with Ashley. Sure, this is a drinking party, but you do realize it's still an extension of work, right? What's your problem? Hearing that, I turned to look at them again. The new recruits sitting with Ashley all glared at Megan, seemingly annoyed by her comment. Even so, Megan handed Ashley the glass of water, her composed demeanor contrasting with the rising tension of the summer party. I was surprised by Megan's bold move, especially since I hadn't mustered the courage to intervene myself. But then, I remembered Ashley was my responsibility now. With that thought, I stood up to support Megan. Unfortunately, this didn't go over well. Ashley and everyone else, this party is also meant to welcome you new hires. While it's a social gathering, please consider what you say. Why is Noah the one saying this? Well, as your mentor, I felt it was important to point out that you might have had a bit too much to drink. Ah, you're so annoying, Noah. With that, Ashley downed the remainder of her beer in one gulp. Even though she could hold her alcohol, the number of empty bottles around her made it clear she'd gone overboard. You should stop around here. I stepped closer to Ashley to offer another warning. However, she stared straight at me, her gaze sharp, as if she was on the verge of saying something. Something felt off as I thought that and moved closer. She suddenly grabbed my arm and forcefully pulled me into a shoulder embrace. Her previously angry expression transformed into a sly, grinning face in an instant. The move was classic drunk behavior. I've only attended a few business dinners as part of work. However, Ashley's behavior was strikingly similar to how drunk superiors acted when I had to help them into taxes. What's your deal? Just because you're my superior, you think you can boss me around? You're barely older than me, aren't you? And yet you talk down to me like you're so much better. Well, as your mentor. Oh please, don't act like you're not looking down on me. You're all just laughing at me behind my back, thinking, what's a Tokyo University graduate doing here being mentored by a middle school graduate? It's the worst. I've never belittled your education or you, Ashley. Why would you make such an accusation? It was true that we were both 23 years old, but I had years of work experience on her. Still, Ashley, clearly upset by this, turned even redder and yelled at me, don't act like it's not true. You're just a middle school graduate who can't think critically. So all you can do is cling to old-fashioned methods. I don't want to hear lectures about customers from such an outdated department. Honestly, aren't you the one looking down on us? What? I don't want to hear that from a middle school graduate. Sure, I may be a middle school graduate, but I have more work experience than you, and so do my colleagues. If you keep acting this condescending without understanding, you're failing as a professional. Hearing this, Ashley's face, which had been flushed with anger, shifted into a more serious expression. She took a deep breath, as if to calm herself, then faced me directly and said something shocking. All right, Noah, if you're going to talk so big, let's see how qualified you really are. I heard you're a middle school graduate. Did you cheat your way into this company? What? I couldn't tell if she was being serious or joking, but her accusation left me stunned. Maybe you paid someone off or used connections. Backdoor admissions happen, you know. Don't you realize that's fraud? No, of course not. I didn't do anything like that. Really? Then why are you so confident for a middle school graduate? You seem awfully sure of yourself. Did you bribe HR or something? What on earth was she talking about? Even though I hadn't been drinking, my head started to ache like I was hungover. I didn't cheat. I passed the exams fair and square. Impossible. This company's entrance exams are notoriously hard. If you're so confident, why don't you take this year's test? With that, Ashley handed me the tablet she had spread out on the table. Displayed on the screen was the company's entrance exam for university graduates. What was she thinking, challenging me with this? While I hesitated, trying to make sense of the situation, I'd overheard her peers whispering behind her. It seemed that this year's entrance exam had been particularly challenging, and everyone had been talking about it. Ashley, proud of her high score, had been showing off the materials to everyone. My manager and colleagues looked visibly anxious about the situation. They probably wanted to intervene, but were hesitant, fearing the consequences might fall back on them. As I silently examined the test on the tablet, Ashley leaned in close and spoke to me in a soft voice. If you manage to get all the answers right, I'll make you my husband. I'll even welcome you into the family as my groom, and you'll be a candidate for CEO. Ashley spoke in an overly sweet voice, almost as if she were trying to tempt me. However, her expression was completely at odds with her sweet tone. It was a cold, terrifying look of disdain, as if her confident face were saying, "There's no way you can solve this, right?" When I placed the tablet on the table and began writing, Ashley burst into delighted laughter. "What? Oh, your name? Well, of course, you have to at least write your name for it to count as a test, right?" She then laughed loudly, her tone exaggerated and mocking. I waited patiently for her laughter to die down, then responded in a loud voice of my own. "Sorry, but I don't think I'll meet your expectations here. I'm done." As I handed the tablet back to her, Ashley stared at the text on the screen, her expression turning to one of complete confusion. Her wide, beautiful eyes froze in disbelief, and the new hires behind her leaned in all at once to peek at the tablet. "Wait, what? Isn't this all correct?" "Yeah, it matches Ashley's answers perfectly." "How is this possible?" "Noah is just a middle school graduate. How could he solve these?" Ignoring Ashley, who was still frozen in disbelief, the new hires began bombarding me with questions all at once. Scratching my cheek in embarrassment, I noticed how their previously mocking gazes had turned into looks of respect. "Why do you ask?" "Well, that's because I was the one who created this test." "What?" "Even though it was so difficult that we struggled with it as university graduates." Hearing their surprise, I decided to explain. While working at this company, I had been pursuing qualifications through distance learning. If I had attended high school, my academic abilities would have been strong enough to gain admission to a university like Waseda, even if Tokyo University might have been a stretch. More, the CEO personally requested me to create the questions for this year's new graduate entrance exam. It seemed he intended to make the test especially challenging, given that his own daughter would be taking it, ensuring only the most capable candidates succeeded. Yes, I may be the same age as all of you, but after losing my parents, I attended a distance learning school where I consistently maintained the top rank. That was crucial because I needed the tuition waiver. As I spoke, I walked toward Ashley, who remained frozen in place, unable to process what she had just learned. She seemed unable to process what was happening, perhaps due to disbelief or the alcohol clouding her thoughts. She kept mumbling phrases like, "Why? This doesn't make sense." Academic credentials are important, but what matters most is building trust with people. If you only chase after what's visible, you'll miss out on what truly matters. Not wanting to escalate things or cause any more trouble, I quietly informed the organizer before leaving the event. It felt like I was escaping. I don't know what happened at the summer party after that, but when I returned home and gave my siblings the leftovers, the rare indulgence of alcohol made me fall asleep almost immediately. Unfortunately, I caught a terrible cold the next day. After notifying my company, I went to the hospital for medicine and spent the next 3 days resting as my siblings took care of me. When I finally returned to work, I couldn't help but feel awkward after what happened with Ashley and taking time off. This is going to be uncomfortable. However, to my surprise, my colleagues greeted me with unexpected praise. Confused, I asked what had happened, and they explained that Ashley, once so stubborn and dismissive, had started listening to others' opinions. At first, her peers and supervisors were cautious, but gradually they began to open up to her. Days passed as I observed the change in her behavior with mild astonishment. One day, during my lunch break, after finishing my morning tasks, I was eating in the cafeteria. Usually, I bring my own lunch, but today I had classes for my distance learning program, with a major assignment coming up. I prioritized finding a place to work on it. While eating a packed lunch, as I took a bite of the sandwich I'd ordered in the cafeteria and focused on my assignment, I heard a soft voice calling my name from behind. Turning around, I saw Ashley standing there, her hair neatly tied back and looking noticeably thinner. The bold makeup and strong-willed demeanor she once carried were gone. She seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. "Please, have a seat." I closed my laptop and gestured to the empty seat beside me. She sat down, holding a water bottle in both hands, staring downward. Noah, I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day. Apologize? I asked in confusion. Ashley lowered her head. Looking closer, I noticed her shoulders trembling with her face turned downward. It was impossible to read her expression. What am I supposed to do? I'm terrible at dealing with silence like this. As I glanced around, trying to figure out how to handle the situation, it was Ashley who finally broke the silence. After that day, I asked my father about everything. Honestly, I was drunk, but I couldn't shake the feeling that you were bluffing. What did he say? He said the same thing you did, that you created the test. He also mentioned that the board members agreed with his decision to entrust it to you. The board? I asked, slightly surprised. That's a bit exaggerated. It was just because I'm close in age to the new recruits and familiar with the current college entrance standards. My father even expressed his gratitude. I feel so ashamed for thinking that academic achievements were the most important thing. Despite feeling slightly embarrassed hearing this from Ashley, the CEO's daughter made me happy. I've always envied you, no. According to her, she hadn't been looking down on me at all. In fact, she had been jealous of me. Ashley slowly began to share her story. As the eldest daughter, she had initially been raised strictly as the heir to her family's company. However, when she was 6 years old, her younger brother was born. From that point on, all of her parents' expectations shifted to her brother, leaving her feeling overlooked and ignored. To gain their approval, I poured myself into studying. That's how I got into Tokyo University. But even then, my parents were adamant about making my brother the successor. I see, I said, nodding. But I heard rumors that you were being groomed as the successor. Now that's because I begged them. I asked to take the entrance exam and go through interviews like any other applicant, so I could gain practical experience and prove myself worthy of the position. She spoke with a pained expression, gripping her water bottle tightly in frustration. Then, in a soft voice, she murmured something quietly. There's no way my brother can manage a business. Why would you say that about your brother? Even though your siblings, Noah, your siblings seem to get along so well. In my case, my brother was pampered by my parents, and as a result, he's developed the habit of blaming me for everything bad and running away from his own responsibilities. What? That's why he'll never be able to manage a business. He's not the kind of person who can take on the responsibility of others' lives and lead. Right now, he's still a high schooler, but soon enough, he'll become an adult. By then, it'll be too late. That's why she had been so desperate for her father to acknowledge her. Looking like she was about to cry, Ashley's face showed signs of exhaustion, with dark circles under her eyes, as though the tension holding her together had finally snapped. She stood up slowly and bowed deeply. I was in such a rush to prove myself that I wasn't looking at those around me and ended up spinning my wheels. Your words yesterday opened my eyes. Like this, I'm not suited to be a CEO either. As she apologized, she seemed so small and fragile, a far cry from the strong-willed person she usually was. I should have listened to her more and offered support when she needed it. That thought crossed my mind unconsciously as I gently told her, "Please, raise your head." Her eyes were already brimming with tears, ready to spill at any moment. I handed her my handkerchief and said, "If you're okay with it, I'll listen to your concerns and help you with anything you don't understand. Let's work hard together." "Yes, thank you, No. Don't mention it. I've been hearing a lot about how hard you've been trying lately. Everyone's noticed it. It would be such a waste to give up now." I said that knowing all I could do was offer her gentle encouragement, but she told me that those words alone had saved her. From then on, Ashley's demeanor changed drastically. The tense expression she usually wore was replaced with a calmer, more relaxed one, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Even her colleagues and supervisors noticed the change, and the workplace atmosphere became noticeably more pleasant. Ashley smiled more often now, making her easier to talk to, and I found myself enjoying our conversations. Our relationship also began to change. Outside of work, she started helping me prepare for my university entrance exams, essentially becoming my tutor. Perhaps because of her experience with her younger brother, she was great with kids, and my siblings quickly grew attached to her. "Hey, Noah, how's Ashley doing lately?" Good morning, Mr. Moore." One day, I found myself sharing an elevator with CEO Moore, who asked this right away. "Ashley. She's gotten used to the work and has been building great relationships with our new clients." "I see. Compared to before, she's much more approachable now." "Yes, it's a result of her hard work, I believe." As expected. As you, Noah. You've been keeping a close eye on her, haven't you?" "What?" His cryptic comment left me flustered, and he gave me a hearty pat on the back, looking pleased. Dad. No, Mr. Moore." "Oh, Ashley. Heading to a meeting?" "Yes. What about you? What are you doing here?" "Just telling Noah to keep taking care of you. After all, you seem to like him quite a lot. You even said you'd like him as your husband, didn't you? Right, Noah?" Caught off guard by the sudden turn in conversation, I froze in place with a smile. Mr. Moore stepped out of the elevator, leaving the two of us alone. Feeling embarrassed, I couldn't bring myself to look at Ashley, who seemed just as flustered. "You really might become the CEO of this company someday." Her playful yet meaningful smile left me no choice but to surrender. Still, if that future does come to pass, I'd like to be the one supporting her every step of the way. Mark is my name. I was simply another worthless thug from the outside. I fought all day long because I believed that physical strength was crucial. However, I eventually found myself inside the gang's world. I believed in my strength, perhaps because I was constantly fighting. I was always at the front during battles as a result, even though I was a low-ranking grunt. During one such confrontation, a rival gang organization abducted my boss, Mr. Abbott, who was also my parent. Most people would never even think of doing it. But I only had a bat, so I barged into the office of the opposing organization. Somehow, I was able to save Mr. Abbott, but I was arrested for that same act. I was ultimately imprisoned for 10 arduous years. At that time, my narrative was passed along like a myth and became legendary. It would be a long time before I found out. After 10 years? Yes, a lot of time has passed. It's been 10 years already. By now, the world has most likely changed significantly. After giving up everything for the group, I was eventually let go. The cops had never once permitted me to have any visitors in those 10 years. As a result, when I went outside, nobody was there to greet me. What the devil? This is all I get for putting my life in danger. However, I truly had nowhere else to go. I gave it a lot of thought, but since I had nowhere else to go, I went in the direction of the former office. Yes, things have changed. Perhaps being a member of a gang is no longer relevant. The space in front of the office was completely empty, and the air was eerily still. I gripped the office doorknob after climbing the old building's stairs. From within came voices. I opened the door, a little thrilled to see someone I knew after all this time. "Go quickly already. Stop putting things off." "I apologize. I'll finish it right away." "Did I not tell you to hurry up? Damn it, you too." A man with a gang-like appearance and 2 subordinates who appeared to be his lackeys were inside the office. "Excuse me, is this the gang group's office?" "Who are you?" "I am a member of this group." "Is this Mr. Abbott?" Their faces were bewildered as they gazed at one another. "Old man, what are you discussing? You are unknown to us. Like we'd let someone like you meet Mr. Abbott. Is it possible for you to make an exception?" I must meet him for a purpose. Not at all. Absolutely not. They seemed annoyed as they tried to shove me out of the room. This is the only place I have. Or is there some reason why I can't meet him? Hey, I'm Walter, this group's underboss candidate. It's a no if I say no. I understand. At minimum, could you let me know Mr. Abbott's location? You're starting to irritate me. Do you wish to pass away? Walter's lackey grabbed me by the collar. My instincts almost made me lash out, but as a grunt, I couldn't oppose someone as high-ranking as an underboss candidate. As one of the lowest-ranking people in the group, I couldn't stand up against him. All I could do was plead desperately. Please, let me stay here. I'll do anything. I have nothing but this group. Walter and his men thought it over for a moment. I thought my desperation must have gotten through to him. All right then. Starting today, you're my lackey. If I think you're trustworthy, I'll let you meet him. Really? When? Mr. Abbott isn't around right now. He's in some meeting with another group. But will you really let me meet him? Are you questioning what an underboss candidate says? In the gang world, defying someone higher up was unthinkable, so I had no choice but to do as Walter said and become his lackey. Hey, I'm hungry, so go buy me something. Get me some cigarettes too, and grab some drinks while you're at it. What about money? What? You think I'm going to give you money? Buy it yourself. I don't have any money either. I just got out of prison. Wait, you were in prison? Yeah, as a hitman. And now you're just some washed-up old man. Your life's over, huh? That's why I need money. Walter threw some loose change in my face. The coins were hard, and my face was left scratched and bleeding. From then on, I was treated like their errand boy every single day. Honestly, they felt more like street punks than an actual gang. But I couldn't say that aloud. I just kept my head down. Ah, man, it's getting boring with just us guys around. Hey, Mark? Yes, what is it? We're going drinking. You're coming too. Are you sure I can come? Yeah, your pathetic stories make great entertainment. A washed-up old man's life is nothing but hilarious. Laughing loudly, Walter led me and the others to a nearby nightclub. Once inside, Walter arrogantly took a seat in the VIP section, sprawling on the sofa. His two lackeys sat down beside him. I tried to sit down as well. Hey, Mark. Who said you could sit down? Know you're placed. Trash. Walter grabbed a glass from the table and smashed it against my head. Blood poured from the wound, staining the floor. What are you doing? Clean it up. Trash. The three of them laughed hysterically, watching me wipe up my own blood. Soon, a group of beautiful women joined their table, and the rowdy party began. Hey, why don't you come with me tonight? Walter, clearly drunk, started trying to drag an unwilling woman along with him. Throughout the night, only the three of them seemed to have fun, while the women and staff looked visibly miserable. Payment? What, you think I'm paying? I came here on patrol. You should be thanking me. Walter and his group left without paying a dime. Honestly, I thought they were the worst kind of scum, not worthy of being called a gang. I started to wonder if Mr. Abbott truly condoned this kind of behavior. I don't feel like going out today. Mark, bring some women here. I'm not really good at that sort of thing. Use my name and get it done. Now, go. Left with no choice, I went out into town to look for women as Walter had ordered. Our underboss Walter is asking for you. Would you mind coming with me? No matter how many times I dropped Walter's name, not a single woman paid me any attention. I thought women working in nightlife would understand and come along, but none of them even glanced my way. Is that guy really an underboss candidate? It had been nearly a month since I became Walter's lackey. There were no signs of me being allowed to meet Mr. Abbott, and I spent my days in the barren office doing nothing. Finally, I decided to confront Walter. Walter, when exactly am I going to meet Mr. Abbott? Mr. Abbott is out right now. I don't know when he'll be back. But leaving the office unattended for a month is pretty unusual, isn't it? Shut up. Don't talk like you know everything, punk. Walter punched me hard in the face. For a moment, I almost fought back, but managed to hold myself in check. What's with that rebellious look in your eyes? Looks like I need to teach you a lesson. Walter and his lackeys treated me like a punching bag, hitting me as much as they wanted. Man, this is getting boring. From now on, when I'm stressed, you'll be my punching bag too. I'd rather not. Shut up and do what you're told. The only answer is yes. Got it? From then on, I wasn't just their errand boy. I became their personal punching bag. Every day, I was beaten and forced to do all their dirty work. I was worried about how long this would continue. I was once again near a nightclub, searching for women to entertain Walter. Hey, my guy is calling for you. Come along. Since polite words weren't working, I tried forcing a woman to come with me. Just then, a man in a suit approached me from the back. Hey, what do you think you're doing to women on our turf? Your turf? Like I care. I tried to ignore him and leave the scene, but the man who had called out to me kicked me from behind. What the hell? I'll beat the crap out of you. I grabbed the man, threw him to the ground, and pinned him, punching him repeatedly. To be honest, part of me was venting my anger at being used by Walter and his lackeys. Do you even know who I am? Like I care. You're the one who started this. Damn it. He kept trying to fight back, but as someone experienced in brawling, I easily overpowered him. Feeling it was pointless to continue beating someone weaker, I stopped. Wait a second, Mark, is that you? Who the hell are you? It's me, Simon. I used to be your lackey. Don't tell me you've forgotten. But wait, why are you here? The man speaking to me was Simon, someone I had taken under my wing before I went to prison 10 years ago. Back then, he wore flashy, shabby clothes and looked weak, the complete opposite of the suited man in front of me. What are you doing here? I'm an executive gang member now. An exec? You used to be so scrawny. Well, 10 years can change a lot, right? Getting out of prison and finding this is probably the most shocking thing so far. Speaking of which, I need to tell you something now that we've finally met. Simon started speaking with a guilty look on his face. I think I messed up the day I was supposed to pick you up. When I went to the prison, the day after you were already gone, and I didn't know what to do. So the reason no one came to get me was because you screwed up? Yeah, I'm really sorry. Though irritated, I calmed myself and asked him, Do you know someone named Walter since you're an executive? Walter? Some big shot? Not really. When no one came to pick me up, I went to the office and met this guy claiming to be the underboss candidate named Walter. I've been working for him since. There's no such thing as an underboss candidate. If you mean Walter, you know him. Yeah, there's a guy named Walter who recently joined under me. He's been tasked with cleaning at the old office. The old office. That's right. While you were in prison, we relocated the office, so the Walter at the old office is just your new recruit. Probably realizing that I had been humiliated by a rookie, I couldn't stay calm. Noticing my reaction, Simon cautiously asked, What happened? I told him everything. My story from the time I was released from prison up until now. I also explained how I was being treated and what kind of attitude Walter had been showing toward me. I can't believe that's what's been happening. I swear, one day, I might just kill that guy. Please handle this peacefully. The cops have been keeping a close eye since your incident. Simon's face tensed up, then trembling slightly, he began to explain. Actually, when we relocated the office, the cops raided the old one. We hid some dangerous stuff in a secret compartment there, and that's why we left a young recruit stationed there. So I just happened to stumble into that mess by bad luck. I didn't know what was happening. I'm sorry. Make sure to keep a close watch on your recruits. I'll be more careful from now on. And what am I supposed to do about this rage I'm feeling? I'll drag him here myself and deal with him if you want. No, I'll handle it. Just beating him up won't straighten him out. Then what will you do? What's the current situation with the executives? If you're one, most of them are probably around your level, right? All the executives know you, Mark. They were all there during the conflict 10 years ago, so if I show up, they'll recognize me immediately. Exactly. I decided to call the executives to the office and reveal my identity in front of Walter and his lackeys. Keep my identity a secret from them for now. Bring all the executives who know me to the office soon. Got it. Let's plan for next week. Tell Walter and the others that they're coming to inspect the cleaning or something. That's all you need. Once they figure out who I am, they'll probably be groveling. I hope so. But if they apologize, will you forgive them? Depends on how they apologize. Simon seemed a little confused but trusted my words and didn't argue further. Afterward, I brought back a woman Simon had introduced to me and returned to the office as if nothing had happened. 3 days later, while I was staying at the office as usual, I overheard Walter on the phone, bowing and scraping, despite the call being remote. Yes, understood. What's up so early in the morning? Listen up, guys. Make sure to clean the place thoroughly. Simon and his team will be visiting the office in 5 days. I played dumb. Will Mr. Abbott be coming as well? I don't care. Don't you understand that you're not ready to meet Mr. Abbott yet? No, I'm here specifically to meet Mr. Abbott. Don't get cocky. We're under a lot of pressure here. Normally, defying them like this would lead to violence, but Walter, seeming genuinely flustered, silently continued cleaning. Is this Simon guy really that scary? Simon is our direct superior, one of the executives. He was once the lackey of that legendary gang member. Legendary gang member? You don't know. Weren't you around back then? Everyone here knows about him. Sorry, I'd forgotten a lot about the past. Walter's underling began speaking confidently, as if it was his own accomplishment. Listen up. The legendary gang member was part of our group. He was incredibly strong and highly respected. Then one day, when Mr. Abbott was kidnapped, he rescued him with just a bat. He's a real legend. At that moment, I realized they were talking about me. I heard he's in prison now, but you might get to meet him someday, the underling continued. Really? Since Simon, a direct associate of that legend, is coming, we can't afford to mess this up. We have to get everything perfect. Normally, these guys were far from diligent, but this time, they were almost disturbingly serious about their work. However, their attitude and treatment toward me didn't change at all. I was still treated as their errand boy, constantly being ordered to buy something or other. On top of that, their arrogant behavior toward honest businesses remained unchanged. These issues needed to be addressed at the root. With that in mind, I decided to take action. Excuse me, has this Walter guy, the gang member, ever actually paid for anything? Every shop I visited told me the same thing. Walter had never paid for anything, leaving me frustrated. Determined, I began asking around about the costs of Walter's unpaid tabs and damages. I took advantage of the time I was sent out on errands to gather this information. The total, largely due to excessive spending at nightclubs, exceeded $100,000. Determined to expose it all, I stuffed the memo into my pocket. After that, my days were consumed by endless cleaning. I was made to scrub every corner, sacrificing even my sleep. Finally, the day of Simon's visit arrived, and the atmosphere in the office was markedly different, filled with palpable tension. Hey, Mark, don't say anything unnecessary. Just keep your mouth shut and clean. Got it. Walter and his crew pretended to be cleaning as they waited for Simon and his team to arrive. Soon enough, Simon and his group entered the office. Good morning. Are you all doing your jobs properly? Good morning. Yes, we've been cleaning thoroughly. We're just here to check on some files and other materials today. Understood. We'll stay out of your way. Behind Simon, about 5 executives followed him into the office. It was clear from their behavior that they all ranked lower than Simon, as they spoke to him with great respect. I pulled my cap down low, trying to avoid being noticed by any of the executives. Then I adjusted it even further to ensure I remained inconspicuous. Simon and his team reviewed the office files and data, discussing matters among themselves. Simon is such a cool guy. Who's cooler, Simon or the legendary gang member? You can't compare. Simon is great, but it's because that legend exists. Walter's crew looked at Simon with admiration in their eyes. After about 30 minutes, Simon and his team seemed to have finished their work. Simon glanced at me, and I gave him a silent nod. Hey, Walter, who's that guy with the hat? He didn't even greet me. Hey, Mark, get over here. The moment my name was called, the executives all turned their heads at once. This guy looks like an old man now, but he came asking to join the group. Oh, I've been letting him work as my lackey. Walter gave a sly grin and grabbed me by the neck, pressing me down onto the floor. Hey, my shoes are dirty, old man. Shine them. Gladly, I began polishing his shoes. Walter, you shouldn't. The executives seemed to realize who I was, their faces turning pale. But Walter only escalated his actions. He pressed his foot on my head. This guy's a rookie, and he's been babbling about wanting to meet Mr. Abbott. As I continued polishing his shoes, Walter suddenly kicked me hard in the face. Hey, greet them. I immediately stood up, removed my hat, and bowed deeply to the executives and Simon. He really is. The executives, now certain of my identity, collapsed to their knees, while Simon bowed deeply in respect. I would like to meet with Mr. Abbott. Please raise your head. I'll inform Mr. Abbott right away. Walter stared at the scene in disbelief, his expression blank. This guy's just some crazy old man. As soon as Walter said that, Simon turned to him and shouted loudly. Do you have any idea who this gentleman is? This gentleman is the legend who single-handedly saved Mr. Abbott. What? What do you mean? 10 years ago, during a conflict, when Mr. Abbott was kidnapped, he stormed in alone and rescued him. That legend is standing right here. There's no way this weak-looking old man is that legend. It's just someone who happens to look like him. Simon and the executives exchanged glances, their expressions clearly saying, don't say anything further. Hey, you've really had your way with me, haven't you? Don't get cocky just because you're an old man. Hey, Simon, can I beat this guy up? He's technically my subordinate, so as long as it's not fatal. You heard him. Even after Simon's response, Walter showed no signs of backing down. Instead, he started laughing. Are you serious? You're really going for it? No way I'm losing to you. To be honest, you'd better stop before it's too late. I won't take responsibility for what happens. Simon, if I beat this old man down, will you officially recognize me and make me an executive or something? Simon scoffed at the suggestion. There's no way you could pull that off, but if you do, I'll follow your orders for life. Don't forget you said that. Walter walked toward me with a grin, stopping right in front of me. Hey, I'll let you throw the first punch. Hit me wherever you want. Are you sure? Don't say I didn't warn you. Shut up. Stop yapping and come at me already. All right, don't mind if I do. I drove my fist hard into Walter's solar plexus. His body bent forward like a folding chair, and he collapsed to his knees, clutching his stomach. Hey, what happened to all that energy you had just now? What should I do after one punch? Walter trembled, his teeth chattering as he looked up at me. On that mark, Got it? Mr. Underboss candidate. Yes, I might have gone too far, but I'm boiling with rage right now. You better brace yourself. Please forgive me. Not a chance. I grabbed Walter by his hair and dragged him into the back room. Neither Simon nor the executive stopped me, likely frozen in place by my sheer intensity. Once we were alone in the room, I shoved Walter into a chair. So, you're not planning to apologize and hope for forgiveness now, are you? Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter whether you knew or not. Guys like you are the reason our reputation is in the gutter. Yes. If new recruits see someone like you who isn't going to take protecting the group seriously. Yes, and this. I pulled a memo out of my pocket. What's this? It's a list of all the money you've skipped out on paying at nightclubs and restaurants. What? I've been asking around while I was running your errands. Since I was out every day, I had plenty of chances to collect the details. Do I have to pay all of this? Listen carefully. As the gang, we must never cause trouble for ordinary people. Not paying your bills is completely unacceptable. I'm sorry. Figure out how to settle this yourself. But don't think this means you're off the hook. I'm about to beat the crap out of you in the back room. I unleashed everything on Walter, leaving him crying and screaming as I pummeled him. There, now you're forgiven. But if you mess around again, you know what's coming, right? Yes, I'm sorry. What about Walter's lackeys? You take responsibility and discipline them. Understood. Simon, along with the executives, locked the 2 lackeys in a room and beat them until no more sounds could be heard. After about 30 minutes, everything went quiet and everyone emerged from the room. The 2 lackeys were completely battered and barely conscious. And as for you, executives, how is it that none of you realized your underlings were getting out of hand? Yes, slacking on supervising your subordinates is exactly why this happened. I spent the next hour lecturing the executives on their responsibility. Here's how it's going to work. The debts Walter racked up with civilians will be covered by you seniors. No, it's collective responsibility. This mess happened because none of you kept things in check. Anyone have a problem with that? Not one of them dared to object. They all agreed to split the cost equally. What are you planning to do now? First, I want to properly greet Mr. Abbott. After that, I'll just go with the flow. I headed to the group's real office with Simon. The office had grown enormously, and the number of members had more than doubled. So this is what it's come to. Actually, after you were arrested for that incident, people started flocking in, wanting to be like you. But you forgot about me. I just mixed up the date. I was looking for you in my own way. Ignoring Simon's shouting, I entered the office. The moment I saw Mr. Abbott, tears welled up in my eyes. It must have been from some deep-seated pain I hadn't even acknowledged. After explaining everything that had happened, Mr. Abbott told me his main concern was that the current members lacked proper guidance. As a result, I was suddenly appointed as the underboss to oversee and unify the group. Mr. Abbott also mentioned that he planned to retire soon and intended to pass the leadership to me once I had adjusted to the role in a few years. 5 years later, I was officially recognized as the boss of the group. Though I had become the boss, I had grown tired of the gang life. The main reason was that I hated being lumped together with people like Walter. Even after returning to the group, I repeatedly told my juniors not to abuse the gang name. But old habits die hard. While many followed my orders because of my reputation as a living legend, there were still plenty who openly defied me. I decided it was time for a change. Hey, Simon, I've got a favor to ask you. What is it? Just say the word. I'm planning to retire as the boss by the end of this year. What? From now on, you'll be running the group. I just want to live a quiet life. I left the group and opened a small coffee shop. Of course, many opposed my decision, but I quit without listening to their protests. The coffee shop is right in front of the group's office. Perhaps because they feel watched, incidents involving the gang have significantly decreased. Now, I run a local coffee shop known as the tough-looking barista who even silences gang members. Why are you in this place? The executive meeting room is located here. Outsiders should depart right away. As if evaluating my value, Miles, the senior executive, gave me a thorough examination. Miles of preconceptions were only strengthened by my informal dress and cautious but kind manner. Well, actually, I am. Miles interrupted me with an irritated wave of his hand. Outsiders are not necessary at this executive meeting. Old man, go back where you came from. For a moment, my expression was bewildered, but then I shrugged as though I had given up. Understood. Miles waved me away with a sly smile, as if he were shooing a stray dog. I took a moment to glance back at Miles before I left the room. There was a resoluteness in my gaze that contrasted sharply with my previous quiet manner. Miles, making snap judgments based solely on appearances might be harmful. You can't perceive true ability with the naked eye. Miles laughed dismissively and mocked. What do you believe to be true? It is impossible for someone like you to comprehend. You will soon discover. If you will pardon me now. After saying my goodbyes, I slipped out of the meeting room. An unexplainable sense of authority flowed from my spine, a foreshadowing of the momentous events that were yet to take place. Miles was momentarily disturbed by the scene, but he soon recovered and went back to work on the conference preparations. I'm 36-year-old Neil Irvin. I am the company's youthful CEO in its headquarters in Germany. My life altered when my father's little factory went bankrupt due to his unexpected sickness, even though I was born and reared in a small rural village in Japan. Even though I was just in high school, I put in a lot of effort to provide for my family. I will never forget the lesson I learned from that experience. A person's value is in their work and honesty, not in their position or appearance. Through scholarships and a part-time night work, I was able to pay for my tuition while attending university to study business administration. I started working with this company after I graduated. I advanced through the ranks gradually by using my linguistic abilities and innovative thinking, and in 15 years I was the CEO. I was hired as the company's youngest executive at the age of 30, and 6 years later I was promoted to CEO. I haven't forgotten the importance of humility either. I occasionally hide my role and go into the field to get a first-hand look at the real state of the company and the real opinions of the personnel. Since the Japanese branch has been functioning poorly lately, I made the decision to carry out a covered examination. I wanted to confirm some items with my own eyes because official visits don't always allow you to view them. One of those covert operations was this visit to the Japanese branch. All that was communicated to the branch was the arrival of a headquarters delegation. Nobody was aware that I was arriving in person. I was hoping this would let me see how they behaved on a daily basis. But after speaking with Miles, I discovered a more serious problem with the branch's culture. Talented people may be turned off if this is not handled. As CEO, it's time for me to take charge and correct this skewed atmosphere. I made the decision to demonstrate what real leadership looks like to these critical people. After making that choice, I started to think about what I would do next. Miles dismissed me, and I went back to my hotel. I hurried back to the Japanese branch after changing into a suit. I would publicly introduce myself as the CEO this time. When I introduced myself at reception, a young female employee hurried over. "Mr. Irvin, we've been expecting you. My name is Mary, and I'll be your guide for the day." Her demeanor was polite, but there were signs of fatigue in her eyes. Perhaps she had been working late, or maybe something was weighing on her mind. "Thank you. How are the preparations for the executive meeting coming along?" "Yes, we're making the final arrangements now. Miles is personally overseeing everything." Mary's voice trembled slightly. It happened the moment she mentioned Miles's name. I felt like I glimpsed a fragment of the employee's true sentiments. We stepped into the elevator, heading to the floor where the meeting room was located. As the doors opened, the unmistakable voice of Miles, the very man who had thrown me out earlier, echoed down the hallway. "What are you doing? Do you think mistakes like this are acceptable when we're hosting the delegation from headquarters?" "I'm terribly sorry," came the reply from what seemed to be a new employee. As we approached, Miles's yelling grew louder. "If you can't even handle a simple report, then just quit already." Mary glanced at me nervously. I gave her a small nod to reassure her. "Miles," I called his name. He turned around, and his eyes widened in shock as he recognized me. "Mr. Irvin, I didn't realize you had already arrived." Miles's demeanor shifted instantly. The voice that had been shouting moments ago vanished, replaced by a cheerful smile. "Yes, I arrived a little earlier than expected. But more importantly, is there an issue here?" "No, not at all. It's just a minor misunderstanding," Miles hastily offered as an excuse. However, the new employee's face remained pale. "I see. Well then, let's start preparing for the meeting," I spoke calmly. Miles's face showed a sense of relief as I entered the meeting room. Several executives were already waiting. I took the head seat and began reviewing the documents. "Let's begin the meeting." With my words, the meeting commenced. Reports from each department followed one after another. Revenue showed a slight increase, and new customer acquisition seemed to be progressing smoothly. At first glance, the numbers didn't look bad. However, something about them felt off to me. These figures seemed unnatural. "Miles, this quarter's revenue growth is reported as a 7% increase compared to the previous year. Can you explain the breakdown of that growth?" Miles looked momentarily flustered but quickly recovered. "Yes, most of it is from additional orders from existing customers." "I see. And what about the contribution from new customers?" Miles faltered, avoiding a direct answer. I turned to Mary. "Mary, could you bring the sales data for new customers?" "Yes, right away." Mary left the room. While she was gone, I noticed beads of sweat forming on Miles's forehead. Shortly after, Mary returned with the requested data. As I reviewed it, my suspicions were confirmed. "Miles, according to this data, revenue from new customers is nearly negligible. How do you explain this?" The meeting room fell silent. Miles's face turned pale. "Are these numbers being propped up by pressuring existing customers with excessive upselling?" Miles was at a loss for words. The other executives exchanged uneasy glances. "Do you really believe manipulating numbers like this will secure the company's future?" My voice was cold. Miles stood abruptly, attempting to defend himself. "Mr. Irvin, there's an explanation for this. With the market shrinking, we've been trying to maintain the numbers however we can." "The market is shrinking. Are you certain about that?" I stood and walked to the window. Outside, the bustling cityscape stretched before us, full of life and opportunity. From where I'm standing, it looks like opportunities are only growing. Miles fell silent. The other executives glanced nervously between me and Miles. "Let's take a break, everyone. We'll resume in 15 minutes. At my suggestion, the executives rose from their seats with visible relief. Miles, however, remained seated, looking as though all the energy had drained from him. During the break, I spotted Mary in the hallway. Her eyes looked tired, yet she maintained her professionalism. "Mary, how would you describe the atmosphere in this company? Is employee morale high?" She hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and spoke candidly. "To be honest, morale is low. Miles's excessive pressure makes it difficult for new ideas to gain traction. Most suggestions get rejected outright, and the quotas are incredibly stressful." I listened silently, though anger simmered inside me. In such an environment, talent is stifled. "I see. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate your courage in speaking openly. A glimmer of hope appeared in Mary's eyes. I placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and encouraged her. When I returned to the meeting room, the executives were already waiting. Miles still looked unwell. I cleared my throat to draw their attention. Everyone, I'd like to share my thoughts on the earlier discussion. The room fell into a tense silence. It's true that maintaining short-term numbers is important. However, what's even more critical is a sustainable growth strategy. Our strengths lie in German engineering and Japan's meticulous customer service. By leveraging these, we can open up new markets. Miles leaned forward, his expression betraying a sense of urgency. But Mr. Irvin, given the current market conditions. Miles, the problem isn't the market conditions. It's our lack of vision. I stood up and walked to the whiteboard. Picking up a marker, I began outlining the framework of a new strategy. First, we need to change the internal atmosphere. Let's create an environment where all employees feel free to share their ideas. Then, we'll launch a program to gather proposals for new business ventures. A spark of interest appeared in the executive's eyes. Miles alone remained dissatisfied, his expression sour. Mr. Irvin, that's far too risky. Opinions from amateurs err. Miles, you don't understand. How can we grasp customer needs if we ignore the voices from the front lines? Our greatest asset is the creativity of each and every employee. Miles opened his mouth to counter, but the voices of agreement from the other executives drowned him out. After the meeting concluded, I decided to tour the office. Mary accompanied me. As we walked through the workspace, I could sense the tension among the employees. Everyone glanced at me nervously before quickly returning to their work. Amid the bustling office, one particular desk caught my attention. Who works here? His name is Henry. He's a new hire. Henry's desk was stacked with multiple proposal drafts. I picked one up and skimmed through it. It was brimming with innovative ideas. This is an interesting concept. Why wasn't it approved? Mary hesitated, avoiding a clear response. From her reaction, I could tell this was Miles' doing. Henry, do you have a moment? Henry stood up, visibly nervous. Did you create this proposal? Yes, I did. It's an excellent idea. Why didn't you present it? Henry lowered his head, his expression a mix of resignation and disappointment. I did, but Miles rejected it. I see. Henry, come to my office first thing tomorrow morning. I want to hear more about this proposal. Henry's eyes lit up. A long-forgotten glimmer of hope returned to his gaze. Thank you so much. I reached out to the other employees as well. At first, they seemed hesitant, but gradually they began to open up. I could feel the dormant passion and creativity within them. Amid this, Miles approached, his face etched with anxiety and unease. Mr. Irvin, doing this disrupts operations. Miles, this is an essential part of operations. By listening to the employees directly, we can uncover the company's underlying issues. But more importantly, Miles, why did you reject Henry's proposal? Miles hesitated, struggling for words. Seeing this, my conviction grew even stronger. This man was holding the company back. Starting tomorrow, we'll have an open idea presentation session for all employees. Miles, I expect you to participate as well. But Mr. Irvin, there's no time to prepare for such an event. It's fine. The employees are already prepared. Their minds are filled with brilliant ideas just waiting to be shared. Miles couldn't argue back and reluctantly nodded. His expression was steeped in the unmistakable shade of defeat. That night, I returned to my hotel and called Matthew, the vice president. As a trusted ally, I shared the day's events with him. Matthew, are you updated on the situation? Yes, I've received the reports. It seems more serious than we anticipated. Indeed. Miles is a major problem. He's severely impacting the employees' morale. Understood. I'll proceed with the necessary steps. I trust your judgment. Thank you. The real work starts tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, I gaze out the window. The Tokyo night skyline stretched before me. This city holds infinite possibilities, but it's the outdated mindset of people like Miles that hinders progress. I vow to change it. With that resolve, I began preparing for the next day. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. Many employees had already arrived, their faces tense with anticipation. Yet in their eyes, there was a glimmer of hope. Good morning, everyone. Today is the idea presentation day. I'm looking forward to it. The employees' faces brightened. Amid this, Miles appeared, his expression even darker than yesterday. Mr. Irvin, such sudden changes are bound to disrupt operations. Miles, there's no need to worry. This is a crucial part of our work, too. Miles wore a dissatisfied look but didn't dare argue further. In the meeting room, employees gathered. At first, they were nervous, but as the presentations progressed, the energy in the room began to grow. Henry's presentation, in particular, was a highlight. And with this new service, we can increase customer satisfaction by 30% while attracting new clients. As Henry concluded his presentation, the room erupted in applause. Excellent proposal, Henry. Let's form a project team right away. Miles started to speak, but I ignored him and called on the next presenter. His era was coming to an end, it seemed. Miles himself could sense it. By the time the presentation session concluded, the meeting room was filled with energy. The employees' eyes were shining. It was as if their long-suppressed talents had finally been unleashed all at once. Thank you, everyone, for your outstanding proposals. To bring these ideas to life, we'll establish project teams. I turned to Miles. His face had turned pale. I'd like Miles to oversee the progress of these projects. But Mr. Irvin, I have other important. Miles, is there anything more important than this? Miles fell silent, visibly shaken. His grip on power was slipping away, and it was plain for all to see. Everyone, this is the beginning of a new challenge. Let's work together to achieve it. Cheers erupted from the employees. Miles alone remained sullen, his expression bitter. His era was coming to an end, and a new breeze was beginning to blow. That evening, I called Matthew again. It was the final check for tomorrow's board meeting. Matthew, everything is ready, correct? Yes, everything is in place. The board will make the official decision tomorrow. Good. The real battle begins now. After hanging up, I gazed out the window. The future of the Japanese branch was about to change dramatically. Miles, your time is over. With that thought, I resumed my preparations for the next day. I wondered what impact this reform would have on the company. How would it change the lives of the employees? The thought filled me with a sense of purpose and excitement. I will turn this company into a place where every employee can work with pride. No matter the obstacles, I will overcome them. Everything will be decided at tomorrow's board meeting. I took a deep breath, renewing my determination for the day ahead. Miles's behavior worsened with each passing day. After the idea presentation session, he began openly expressing his dissatisfaction. One morning during the daily assembly, Miles suddenly stood up. Everyone, I'd like to address the current situation. Employees exchanged uneasy glances. I furrowed my brows. Mr. Irvin's new policies are overly idealistic. Get real. We don't have time for fantasies. Miles, that's enough. Be quiet. Mr. Irvin, today I'm speaking. I held my tongue. This was a chance for everyone to see Miles's true colors. In the past month, sales have dropped by 20%. Why? Because we've been wasting time on pointless ideas. Murmurs of discontent rippled through the employees. What we need are immediate solutions. Therefore, I propose this, starting tomorrow, Everyone's salary will be cut by 30%. The room buzzed with murmurs. Anger and anxiety were evident on the faces of the employees. That's impossible. We can't live on that. If you can't survive, then quit. There are plenty of replacements out there. I clenched my fists. My patience had reached its limit. Miles, that's going too far. Mr. Irvin, you no longer have the authority to make decisions. I've secured majority support in the board. Your word holds no weight anymore. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. I was surprised at how far Miles had gone with his schemes. But I quickly regained my composure. Everyone, please stay calm. Everything Miles has said is a lie. Oh, then show me proof. Gladly. Let's take a look. I took out my phone and played a recording. The audio revealed Miles pressuring a client to intentionally reduce their orders. Miles's face turned pale. Miles, you've been manipulating this company for your own gain, disregarding the well-being of the employees. Such behavior is unforgivable. Angry voices rose from the employees. No, that's not what happened. Are you still going to deny it? I also have evidence of the slush funds you've been creating for the past 5 years. Miles collapsed at his knees, defeated. Miles, you're terminated effective immediately. The authorities will be informed. Security personnel arrived and escorted him out. After he left, a heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone, I'm deeply sorry for allowing things to reach this point. I bowed deeply. Suddenly, applause broke out. Thank you, Mr. Irvin. Thank you for standing up for us. The employees' faces showed relief and gratitude. Everyone, thank you. But the real challenge starts now. Let's rebuild this company together. Everyone nodded firmly. That afternoon, I convened an emergency board meeting. Everyone, I apologize for what happened. It was a failure of oversight on my part. One of the board members spoke up. No, Mr. Irvin. On the contrary, you helped us avoid a major crisis. That's right. It was thanks to your foresight that Miles' recklessness was stopped. Thank you. Now let's discuss the measures we'll take moving forward. The meeting lasted 3 hours. By the end, we had decided on 3 key initiatives. The first was to enhance internal communication. We would create a more open workplace where employees' voices are heard. The second was the full launch of the new business development team, centered around Henry's idea. We would start innovative projects. The third was to improve employee benefits. We would reevaluate the salary structure and enhance welfare programs. These initiatives were expected to invigorate the entire company. After the meeting, I called Matthew. Matthew, everything went well. I'm glad to hear that. Miles's actions were shocking. I didn't think he'd go that far. Yes, but now the company can move in the right direction. I trust you, Mr. Irvin. Keep up the good work. After hanging up, I looked out the window. The city, bathed in the sunset, was breathtaking. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Come in. It was Mary who stepped in. Excuse me, Mr. Irvin. I've compiled everyone's questions about the new system starting tomorrow. Ah, perfect timing. Let's go through them together. We worked late into the night. I was impressed by Mary's sincerity and sharp insights. Mary, I'd like to appoint you as the head of HR. Mary's eyes widened in surprise. Are you sure about me? Yes, you're more than capable, and you understand the voices of the employees. Tears welled up in her eyes. Thank you. I'll do my best. I nodded with satisfaction. The future of this company looked bright. The next day, I gathered all the employees. Everyone listen. I apologize for yesterday's incident. However, this marks a new beginning for our company. The employees' eyes were serious. First of all, there will be no salary cuts. In fact, we're implementing a base salary increase for all employees. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Next, We're fully launching the new business development team. Henry will lead it. Henry looked surprised, but nodded confidently. Lastly, I'm appointing Mary as the new head of HR. Mary bowed shyly. Let's work together to make this company #1 in the industry. The room erupted in applause. That night, I called Matthew once again. Matthew, we took a big step forward today. I'm glad to hear that. I always believed you could do it. Thank you. But the real challenge starts now. I'm here to support you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. The city lights sparkled outside the window. A new challenge begins tomorrow. There will be difficulties, but I have dependable allies. I will make this company a place everyone can be proud of. I sat at my desk and began drafting a new management policy. A workplace that utilizes the talents of every employee and promotes open communication. A company that delivers even better services to our customers. This transformation will illuminate the company's future. Laying down my pen, I smiled with satisfaction. The real battle starts now, but I was certain it would work out. I had no doubt about it. The day after my schemes were exposed, I headed to the office early. Today would be the day everything changes. As I stepped off the elevator, many employees were already at their desks. When they saw me, they gave nervous nods of acknowledgement. I smiled warmly in return. Good morning. Let's make today a great day. Their expressions softened slightly. On my way to the meeting room, Mary hurried over. Good morning, Mr. Irvin. Here are materials for today's emergency board meeting. Thank you, Mary. You've prepared well. As I reviewed the documents, Miles appeared, remembering the events of yesterday's assembly. I braced myself. Good morning, Mr. Irvin. I'm looking forward to today's board meeting. Sensing something behind his smile, I heightened my vigilance. Yes, so am I. Entering the meeting room, I saw that the other board members were already present. I took the chairman's seat and began the meeting. Let's start the emergency board meeting. Suddenly, Miles stood up. Excuse me, I have an important proposal to make. First, I frowned. What's he plotting this time? Yesterday, I had a private meeting with Mr. Yates, the president of Yates Trading, one of our key partners. He expressed interest in acquiring 20% of our company's shares. The room erupted in murmurs. Yates Trading is one of the biggest players in the industry. Their investment would undoubtedly carry significant weight. This would greatly strengthen our financial foundation and enable us to invest in new ventures. Miles looked at me triumphantly. The other board members began voicing their agreement. Wait a minute. Is this information verified? Of course. I even have a letter of commitment from Mr. Yates himself. Miles pulled a document out of his pocket. I took the document from Miles and skimmed through it. It was indeed a letter of commitment, signed by Mr. Yates of Yates Trading. However, why wasn't such an important matter reported earlier? I apologize. Things were moving quickly. At Mr. Yates's request, we were proceeding confidentially. I felt uneasy. The proposal was certainly enticing, but something didn't sit right. What is Miles really aiming for? Just then, Mary burst into the meeting room. Excuse me, there's an urgent call from Yates Trading Secretary's office. I picked up the receiver. This is Neil speaking. As I listened to the voice on the other end, my expression shifted. Miles's face turned pale. Understood. Thank you. Hanging up, I turned to Miles with a stern gaze. Miles, care to explain why Mr. Yates claims to know nothing about this deal? Miles's face went ashen. That's this letter of commitment. It's forged, isn't it? The room fell silent. Miles was speechless, collapsing into his chair. Everyone, this is Miles's true nature. He tried to throw the company into turmoil with false reports. Furthermore, his statements during yesterday's assembly were all lies as well. The other board members glared at Miles in anger. In fact, I've been investigating Miles's misconduct for some time now. I took out my phone and played a recording. It captured Miles pressuring a client to deliberately reduce their orders. Miles has been sabotaging the company's performance to protect his own position. The board members murmured in shock. Additionally, I've uncovered evidence of a slush fund scheme he's been running for the past 5 years. These findings have already been submitted to the auditors. Miles looked utterly defeated. His head hung low. Miles, you are hereby dismissed. We're also considering filing charges. Wait, I have a family. If you truly cared about your family, you wouldn't have done something so reckless. Security was called, and Miles was escorted out. Everyone, I'm sorry you had to witness such disgraceful behavior, but this marks a new beginning for our company. The board members nodded in agreement. A week passed since Miles's dismissal. The company's atmosphere had transformed, and the employees' energy and enthusiasm were palpable. However, I couldn't let my guard down. Miles's influence ran deep, and it was possible that his loyalists still lingered within the company. One morning, Mary rushed into my office. "Mr. Irvin, we've got a serious problem. We've received information that Miles is attempting to sell our confidential information to a competitor." I stood up from my chair. According to Mary, Miles had secretly contacted a rival company after his dismissal. He was trying to sell our new business plan and client lists. What's more, there was a recorded conversation between Miles and a competitor's executive as evidence. I took immediate action. I called Matthew and contacted our legal counsel. Within 30 minutes, an emergency response meeting was underway. We faced 2 major challenges. One was to prevent further information leaks, and the other was to identify those within the company who were colluding with Miles. Matthew gave his report. "We've already filed an injunction with the court regarding the information leaks, including freezing Miles' assets." After much discussion, the following measures were decided. First, an emergency audit of the company's internal network by the aid department. Next, hearings with the heads of all departments. And finally, strengthening the internal whistleblowing system. This matter was to be handled in utmost secrecy. It was crucial to avoid alerting Miles's remaining allies. Late that night, as I stayed behind in the office, there was a sudden knock at the door. When I opened it, it was Henry. He looked nervous as he began to speak. Actually, Miles approached me. He asked me to help him start a new company and promised a hefty reward if I leaked confidential company information. I looked straight into Henry's eyes. "So, what did you decide?" Without hesitation, Henry responded, "I refused, Mr. Irvin. I love this company. I'd rather leave this industry than follow someone like Miles." I let out a sigh of relief. I was glad I had trusted Henry. His information proved decisive. The next day, I contacted the police. Miles was arrested for attempting to steal confidential information. At the same time, the internal investigation identified several executives who had been colluding with him. They, too, faced strict disciplinary actions. The company was shaken to its core by this incident. However, overcoming the crisis only strengthened the unity among the employees. I gathered all the employees to address the situation. "Everyone, I know this has been a challenging time, but we came together and overcame this crisis. From now on, we will move forward as a stronger company." Determination gleamed in the employees' eyes. Having weathered this trial, the company was ready to take a fresh step forward. A month passed since Miles' arrest. The company began to regain stability, and operations under the new system were starting to gain momentum. However, I still felt a sense of unease. While Miles' wrongdoings had been exposed, the long-term damage he had inflicted on the company wouldn't disappear overnight. One day, I called Mary and Henry into my office. "I need to discuss something with you both." "Yes, what is it?" "I want to fully uncover the extent of the damage Miles caused to the company and make it public." But wouldn't that harm the company's image? No, I see it as an opportunity to demonstrate our strength. By acknowledging past mistakes and showing how we've overcome them, we can regain the trust of our clients and partners. Mary and Henry exchanged glances and nodded. All right, let's get started. The three of us divided the tasks and began our investigation. Fraudulent accounting, workplace harassment, pressure on business partners. One shocking revelation after another came to light. 2 weeks later, we finally had the full picture. I decided to hold a press conference. On the day of the conference, standing before a large gathering of reporters, I calmly began to speak. Today, we will disclose the full extent of the misconduct committed by our former executive, Miles. I detailed Miles's wrongdoings thoroughly. The room buzzed with murmurs. These actions have caused approximately $50 million in damages to the company and forced many talented employees to leave. The reporters' pens raced across their notebooks. However, we deeply reflect on this situation and view it as a new starting point. Specifically, we will implement the following measures. I explained the new internal control systems, employee mental health care programs, and efforts to build fair relationships with business partners. Finally, I turned to the cameras and declared firmly, we will learn from past mistakes and be reborn as a stronger, more honest company. We will regain the trust we have lost. After the press conference, the company received an overwhelming response. Many people praised our sincere handling of the situation. Then, a week after the press conference, something unexpected happened. Miles sent a letter from the detention center to Mr. Irvin and all employees. I deeply regret my foolishness and sincerely apologize for the trouble I caused to the company and its staff. Mr. Irvin's courageous actions had deeply moved me. Please rebuild the company and give me a chance to atone for my sins. Reading the letter stirred complex emotions in me. However, I felt it marked a turning point. Everyone, this is a letter from Miles. I shared the contents of the letter with the employees. While his actions cannot be forgiven, we must look forward and move on. Let's use this experience to build a stronger company. The employees nodded resolutely. Their eyes shone with renewed determination. A month later, our company launched a new project. It was an employment support program for former offenders. The initiative garnered widespread attention both inside and outside the company. Many other businesses expressed their support and offered to collaborate. The media prominently covered our efforts. Overcoming past mistakes. A new challenge in corporate social responsibility. That headline graced the front page of the newspaper. 6 months after the project began, the first hires joined our company. Their eyes sparkled with determination and hope for a fresh start in life. Then, 1 year after the project began, the long-awaited day finally arrived. It was the day Miles would be released from prison. I waited outside the prison gates with Mary. When Miles emerged, his face was filled with surprise, confusion, and deep gratitude. Mr. Irvin, I never thought you'd come. I promised, didn't I, to give you another chance. Tears welled up in Miles' eyes. Truly, I'm so sorry and thank you. Miles, we can't change the past, but we can shape the future. Let's build a new future together. Miles bowed deeply. That afternoon, I took Miles to the office. As we entered, the employees lined up to welcome him. Miles stood frozen in surprise. Everyone, please give Miles a warm welcome. The atmosphere was tense at first, but Henry stepped forward. Miles, welcome back. Let's work hard together. Henry extended his hand, and Miles, with tears streaming down his face, grasped it firmly. Seeing this, the other employees began to approach Miles one by one, shaking his hand in support. I watched the scene from a short distance away. Mr. Irvin, it's truly wonderful, isn't it? Yes, our company has taken a new step forward. That night, I stayed late at the office, gazing out the window. The city lights seemed to shine brighter than ever before. Our company had overcome a tremendous trial, and through that process, we were striving to give back to society the lessons we had learned. Isn't this the true mission of a company? Not just to pursue profit, but to contribute to society and enrich people's lives. I let out a deep breath. The road ahead is still long, but we have hope, and we have the power to turn that hope into reality. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but with the strength we've gained, we can overcome anything. I quietly clenched my fist, savoring the emotions swelling in my chest and the anticipation for what lies ahead. This is a story of a company's rebirth, but it is also a story of believing in human potential, the courage to forgive, and the strength to recover. We all make mistakes, but if we can acknowledge those mistakes, learn from them, and move forward with courage, the path will always open up. With this lesson in our hearts, our company will continue to forge a new history to become a stronger, kinder, and more humane company. Yes, our challenge is never ending. We will keep moving forward, step by step, steadily, for the sake of society and for ourselves. Miles's life spiraled downward after being ousted from the company. On the day of his arrest, his wife packed her belongings and returned to her parents' home with the parting words, "I never want to see your face again." His son, upon learning of his father's crimes, also left home with his mother. Miles received a 5-year prison sentence and was incarcerated. The once elite executive in tailored suits was gone, replaced by a middle-aged man in a prison uniform. Life in prison was nothing short of hell for Miles. Other inmates mocked him, ridiculing the former elite businessman, and he became a target of bullying. He was assigned the dirtiest tasks, like cleaning toilets, and forced into back-breaking labor with barely enough food to sustain him. At night, alone in his cell, he would weep as he recalled his past glories, but there was no one to comfort him. After his release, Miles tried to reintegrate into society, but it proved far more difficult than he had imagined. His criminal record and age worked against him. No company was willing to hire him. With no other options, Miles turned to day labor to make a living. The man who once hosted clients at upscale restaurants now toiled on construction sites, drenched in sweat. His former self was unrecognizable. His home had shifted from a luxurious apartment to a modest flat. His meals were simple and frugal, a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he once knew. One day, Miles ran into a former subordinate on the street. However, upon seeing Miles's current state, the subordinate quickly averted his gaze and walked away. In that moment, Miles felt the full weight of his crimes pressing down on him. That night, in his small, shabby apartment, Miles stared at his reflection in the mirror, a wrinkled face, a gaunt body, and most of all, eyes clouded with regret. This wasn't supposed to happen, Miles muttered, but there was no turning back. His life had become a living hell. The dignity, power, and wealth he once possessed were all gone, leaving him with nothing but regret. Amid all this, the only glimmer of hope was the chance for a fresh start that I had offered him. However, to make the most of it, Miles needed to truly transform himself. Could he muster the resolve for such a change, or would he continue his descent into ruin? Miles's future remained uncertain. The one certainty was that his life would never return to what it once was, and this was entirely the result of his own actions. This story is a record of the downfall of a man consumed by power and status. At the same time, it reveals the profound flaws in human nature. Miles's fate serves as a stark warning. Power corrupts, and arrogance paves the way to ruin. It also reminds us just how difficult it is to regain trust once it has been lost. Miles's tale is, in many ways, a modern-day parable, a cautionary story about the consequences of succumbing to greed and losing one's moral compass. It offers valuable lessons for all of us. Miles's story is not yet over. He still has a chance to atone for his mistakes, but whether he takes the chance is entirely up to him. 5 years had passed since Miles's scandal. The company I led had grown into a highly regarded enterprise within the industry. Henry, now the leader of the new business development team, had launched a groundbreaking idea that became a massive success, driving the company's performance to new heights. Our employee satisfaction surveys consistently ranked us among the top workplaces, reflecting the positive and supportive environment we had cultivated. One day, I stood in my top floor office, watching the busy employees below. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. "Come in," I said. It was Mary, now the head of HR. "Mr. Irvin, I have great news. Our Second Life Support Program has won this year's CSR Excellence Award." A wide smile spread across my face. We did it. Everyone's hard work has paid off. This program had been launched in the wake of Miles's scandal. It aimed to provide second chances to those who had made mistakes in their past, garnering widespread social acclaim. "And one more thing," Mary continued. "You've received a letter from Miles." I was slightly surprised. After his release from prison, Miles had returned briefly to the company before resigning to start a small business in a rural area. Opening the letter, I found an update on his life and words of deep gratitude. After finishing the letter, I exhaled deeply. People can change, I thought. "Yes, thanks to you, Mr. Irvin." "No, it's thanks to everyone," I replied. "None of this would have been possible alone. We got here by working together." Just then, my secretary called. "Mr. Irvin, it's time for your meeting with the young entrepreneurs of tomorrow." "All right, I'll be there soon," I said, standing up and leaving the office with Mary. As the elevator descended, I found myself thinking back to that day, the day I was almost thrown out by Miles. From that experience emerged a new vision for the company. As I entered the meeting room, I was greeted by the eager faces of young entrepreneurs, filled with hope. "Hello, everyone. Today, I want to hear about your dreams." Their eyes lit up with excitement, and in their passion, I saw a reflection of my younger self. After the meeting ended, I returned to my office. The setting sun painted the sky in beautiful hues outside my window. I let out a deep sigh and then pulled a photo from my desk drawer. It was a picture from the early days of the company. There I was, younger and full of ambition, standing next to Miles. "Life really is fascinating," I murmured. "All the struggles, all the joys, every moment shaped who I am today." At that moment, my phone rang. Looking at the screen, I saw it was my wife. "Hello. What's up?" "Don't tell me you've forgotten. It's our daughter's birthday today." I slapped my forehead in realization. I had been so absorbed in work that I almost forgot an important promise. Of course I remember. I'm heading home now. Hanging up, I hurriedly grabbed my coat before leaving the office. I paused to look out the window one last time. The city lights were beginning to illuminate the streets below. The sight felt like a reflection of the company's bright future. I smiled with contentment, then turned and made my way home to my beloved family. When I arrived, my daughter ran up to me beaming. "Daddy, welcome home." "I'm home. Happy birthday." Time with family, this was the ultimate reward for all the hard work I had endured. As I watched my daughter blow out the candles on her cake, I thought to myself, I'll keep working hard for everyone. That night, I fell into a peaceful sleep for the first time in a long while. Tomorrow would bring new challenges again, but I knew that with who I am now, I could overcome any challenge. I was confident of that.